I'm Audrey Brooks. I am here with my functional neurologist, Dr. Roger Elmer, who I talk to you about all the time, but I've never actually introduced you to him. Hi, Dr. Elmer.
Hello.
So this is the guy that actually saved my life more than once. He's the guy that took my call while he was on vacation in Disneyland. I really appreciate that. You have a different approach than anyone else. I've been to about 13 other neurologists, and not one of them has offered me any kind of a solution. They've offered me Band-Aids. Like, I've had the brain implant stimulator, I've had Botox shots, and I've had all of the meds. And also I got to the point where I was praying that I wouldn't wake up. And not that I don't want to be here, because life is fabulous and there's so much to offer, but you know, when you have zero quality of life and 14 hours a day of seizures, and your own ER and your own medical team do not believe that it's actually happening to you, it takes a toll. And years of that, it just gets, when you get back into another dystonic storm and you're going through that again. I've been to that point where I didn't want to wake up more than once in my life. And I don't know how I got myself back into remission before, but this time I know now. I know so much more now. It's just absolutely amazing how the cranial nerves work, that there are 13 cranial nerves, and anything that goes wrong in the nerves is also going wrong in the body. So I have a big question for you, talking about the brain, the tone of the nerves. So when your muscles lose tone, is that pretty much a sign that you're also losing tone inside your brain?
Yes.
What happens on the outside happens on the inside.
Yes, exactly. In fact, there are basic principles in functional neurology, and anything that's going on centrally is going to have peripheral manifestations. That's a fancy way of saying what you just said, right? And to the trained eye, you're going to be able to see it. But there's also the reverse loop, right? Because anything that's happening peripherally in the body is going to have central consequences. So if you've got something, in fact, just for let's say I go and get an fMRI, which I can measure the noodles. I call them noodles, but they're gyri. I can measure those and see how big those are, and then we go to a church party, and I give you a baseball bat and you break my arm, just for a party trick, right? And we put it in a cast, and so that arm's not going to move, and because it's not moving, the brain isn't activating it. And so in 2 weeks, just 2 weeks, I can go back and get another fMRI, and we can see measurable changes in the areas of the brain that feel the arm, but also that move the arm. Just 2 weeks. And we call that atrophy. We think that means it's getting smaller. No, it doesn't. It means atrophy, no nutrition. Well, why is it not getting nutrition? We're not using it, right? And so anything that happens peripherally, I'd say I get a knee injury, it is affecting multiple areas in the brain, and they are changing in a negative way. And so that's why rehab isn't just an orthopedic system or proposition, it's a neurological proposition. And we get so many imbalances within our life, which create dysfunctions down the road. I believe that's the biggest part of aging, is the term we use is plasticize. We move always in a certain direction, right? We walk forward, we don't walk backwards. And so everything is grinding forward. Your whole brain is changing. If you try to walk backward, it gets worse and worse and worse. You can't do it. And you know, it's interesting that in the Orient, they actually spend a fair amount of time walking backwards. Well, it works, right? They're basically creating the stability that is for going forward. All of the stuff in the back is stabilizing the stuff in the front. And we say, well, I just keep getting this knee injury. Well, we keep working the wrong stuff, right? We'll get exercises for our quads. We shouldn't be doing quad exercises. Why? Because unless there's an actual injury in the quad, we hold ourselves up with our quads, right? And so we should be doing exercises on the hamstrings, and only in the lower hamstrings and so you got to know how to do that. But that whole process of plasticization creates new dysfunctions. And then if you have a dysfunction, and this is related to, particularly your case, if you have specific dysfunctions, they're trying to treat it from a global point of view when it's local. And why aren't we working on it locally? They tried to do it with a stimulator, right? Are they hitting the actual areas that are the problem? Well, when you've got an epileptiform disorder or creating seizures, when you have that kind of issue, we have to work with the opposite cells, right, on the other side of the body. I have a patient who has a seizure disorder for her speech area called Broca's on the left side, and she's had people work on that side, work on the left side of the brain, and it gets worse. And so what I did, I realized that as soon as I started working with it, she was getting worse. So I came over here to the other side. It's not called Broca's, but it's 45 and 46, or 44 and 45. And I started working with that, and all of a sudden she could talk. Well, we needed to inhibit or tell, if you turn one side on, the other side turns off. And we needed to keep turning it off, keep turning it off, keep turning it off. And all of a sudden she could talk well. And so that's you have to know the brain inside and out, upside and down. You have to be able to be creative. You have to be able to look and say, okay, this patient, or how do I say it? People ask me all the time, what do you do for a migraine? And I say, put the patient in front of me, right? Because I know exactly what's causing the symptoms. It's your midbrain. Your mesencephalon is creating a vasodilation. The blood vessels are getting big on the dura of your that's the coating around your brain, and that. But there could be thousands of reasons why your midbrain is doing that. I need to find the why, and not be so focused on the what, because I already know what the what is. They're always trying to play with the symptoms, and what we know from neurology, neurobiology actually, is that the more that problem exists, the more it's getting more efficient at that problem. And so it's not as simple as, okay, we're going to sit around and wait for it to get better. That's not going to happen, because you're expressing it more and more and more and getting more and more efficient. It's kind of like if you do differential calculus every day, all day long, it's going to become like child's play after a while. Well, yeah, it becomes more efficient. So did you know that you get smarter as parts of your brain die?
Why?
Yeah.
It pushes all the knowledge together, or what?
Yeah. You see, I used to have this old computer, and it would pop up an icon and say, you have icons you would never use. And I always go, I don't care, right? But your brain doesn't do that. It doesn't say it. If you're not using it, if it's becoming a waste of energy and a waste of time, it will just tear it down. If you don't use it,
you lose it.
Yeah, that's a law of biology, and it always works. And so those parts of the brain start to go away. And if you're not using those functions, they go away. And it reveals the machine that you use all the time, and you become much more efficient at whatever it is you're doing. If you choose to be, I know here in Vegas, there are a lot of card dealers, right? And if that's all they do is deal cards and that, they're going to become better and better and better. And at some point, it's going to become exponential. And it's because parts of their brain that are wasting time and energy are gone, right? The Einsteins and the Plancks and the Bohrs and all these great scientists, right? They were growing, but then usually you can see, boom, they started exploding in their learning and development and creativity. That's because they let everything else go, right? Mm-hmm. And those parts of the brain died, and so we want to make sure that we're not wiring and becoming more efficient at bad things. Right?
That is amazing. That's very interesting. We're going to delve more into that. Thank you, Doctor. Well, now you know. Dr. Elmer.
Nice to meet you.